On News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo. Pick up your membership and enjoy the Sunset Zoo all year long.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast right now, 73 degrees, partly cloudy, little to no wind. This evening, against still those partly cloudy skies, the high for tonight, 74. Northwest wind, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tonight, the overnight low at 42. Partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high near 73 with a light and variable wind out of the south, 5 to 10 in the morning. Tomorrow night, mostly clear and a low around 52. We're getting set for the game here on News Radio KMAN.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Well, once again, there will be a K-State women's basketball game without a top player, without a superstar. This time, that player that is out does not play for K-State. Brutal news for USC and the women's college basketball world. JuJu Watkins is out for the remainder of the season due to an ACL tear in last night's first quarter of USC's NCAA tournament win against Mississippi State. What that means for K-State, what it means for USC, that's coming up here in an hour-and-a-half version of the game on News Radio KMAN. We are out at 5:30. K-State baseball taking on Nebraska at Toyton Family Stadium. First pitch a few minutes after 6 o'clock here on KMAN with Wyatt Thompson on the call. He'll be on the call all week for K-State baseball. They'll also have Texas Tech coming in this weekend. They'll start on Friday at 6 and then continue through Saturday and Sunday. Jabroni of the Week coming up at about 4:45. And coming up later this hour as well, we're going to be joined by Kristin Waller. You may know her as a former K-State women's basketball player. You may know her as an associate AD at K-State. You may also know her as a K-State women's basketball color analyst on the K-State Sports Network from Learfield with Brian Smoller. She was in Lexington for the 2 wins so far in the NCAA tournament, and she'll be joining us here at about 4:30 to talk about the K-State women. Heading into the Sweet 16, she was a senior. I believe she was a senior the last time K-State played in a Sweet 16 game back in 2002 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in a loss to Old Dominion. Text line, the phone lines are open, 785-537-1350. If you want to chime in, you want to ask a question or comment on today's show, JuJu Watkins will not play against K-State on Saturday. She will not play for the rest of this season, and she's going to be out some time. I stayed up. I watched last night. I saw it live, first quarter with about 5 minutes to go, a little less than 5 minutes to go. JuJu, who in my opinion is the best player in women's college basketball today, was in transition. Here come two defenders from Mississippi State. Really wasn't a whole lot of contact. Takes one step. The knee buckles a little bit. It looked nasty on the replay. She falls to the floor, and she's in pain, and she's very emotional. After a few moments on the ground, being looked at by the training staff, surrounded by players, her teammates, JuJu Watkins was carried off the floor in Los Angeles, was taken to the hospital, and of course, as you can imagine, did not return. She was ruled out at halftime. They put out a statement on USC's official account saying that JuJu Watkins is not returning, and then we learned, and I was hearing that there was going to be some sort of an announcement, or they were going to get everything done right away that night. So I stayed up. It was right before about 1 a.m. Here comes the announcement. It was first reported by ESPN. JuJu Watkins, who was up for Naismith Player of the Year, and I think she's going to win it, tore ACL, and she is done. And if you're familiar with knee injuries, that's a hell of a recovery. That's a lot of time not working out, not playing basketball, recovering. You're looking at months. You're looking at least a half a year. And it's a long recovery time. Now, of course, like I mentioned, we're going to take a look at what that means for K-State, what that means for UCF, because obviously things change. Right now on the surface, K-State, according to Vegas, is still a dog in the game Saturday, which will tip off at 7 o'clock from Spokane, Washington. USC is now a 1.5-point favorite. K-State was a 1.5-point favorite against Kentucky in Lexington. That was a close game. So does this, in a way, level the playing field, so to speak, for this Sweet 16 game? Mitch Fortner alongside Cole Dutchendorf, and again, we're with you until 5:30. Cole, are you watching last night?
I was.
That gruesome injury?
I was doing some meal prep. I was cutting some chicken in the kitchen, and I look over and I see JuJu go down, and then immediately grabbing at the knee, and you're like, you immediately think of just what she means to women's basketball. I think she was a huge part of the. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is kind of someone who spearheaded maybe some of the popularity, but JuJu Watkins is right alongside. I mean, last year as a freshman at USC, averaging 27 points per game, something ridiculous like that. She was one of the main stars that has helped kind of transcend, especially women's college basketball, to the level that it's currently at. And you hate to lose a player of her status. You hate to lose anyone, but especially someone who has done what she's done for women's college basketball, for USC, for the community. It sucks, and injuries suck, and especially when they're bad ones like the ACL. You hate to see that, and you just hope that she can come back as good, as explosive as she has been the last 2 years, because it's been a phenomenal 2-year run for JuJu Watkins. She's so young. She's just in her sophomore season, averaged 24 points per game this year, and obviously USC just 3 losses on the season, a 1 seed in the tournament. They were trying to get some revenge from last year. So I can just, all I can hope is that she recovers well and she comes back even better and stronger for the future, because you hate to lose a star like that.
If you're a fan of college basketball, if you're a fan of women's college basketball in general, sports, and you've just heard of JuJu Watkins, you don't have to have seen her play, and you've probably heard of JuJu Watkins. And if you saw the injury or not, you probably saw the outpour of organ/body part donors that came out of the woodwork to do anything they could to help out JuJu Watkins. I think that was a phenomenal sign of what she means to women's college basketball. If you were listening to the Dan Patrick Show earlier, I thought they did a good job of explaining what it means for women's basketball. This is a big loss for the sport. I'll take it a bit further, because we're past the Caitlin Clark era when it comes to women's college basketball. We're past that era. She's now in the WNBA. She is continuing to be a leader in growing women's basketball as a whole. But when it comes to the women's basketball side of things, and you want the ratings for the NCAA tournament to continue to grow, regular season numbers continue to grow, and people to still talk about women's college basketball, you need that next flag bearer. A lot of people think that's Paige Beckers. Well, Paige Beckers played same time as Caitlin Clark. She missed a year, would have graduated the same year as Caitlin Clark if it wasn't for a knee injury when she was playing pickup basketball the August before her junior season started. And so she's playing this year, and this is the final year for Paige Beckers as a senior at UConn. Phenomenal basketball player. To me, the flag bearer is JuJu Watkins. She is the face of women's college basketball. And I may be a minority of that, but because she's not as old, she's a younger player as Paige Beckers. Paige has been known as a phenom since she was a freshman. I think JuJu is just a step further than that. I could give you all the numbers, and I think I'll give you some here in a little bit, really more what it means for USC, not so much comparison of Paige Beckers. What Paige does have over JuJu is her three-point shooting. JuJu Watkins is the second best scorer in college basketball right now. I think she's overall the best player. I mean, if you just take a look at her scoring, JuJu Watkins is on pace to pass Caitlin Clark for career points. On pace. And that's now with even her season over her sophomore year. JuJu Watkins is just a sophomore. And she's on pace to pass Caitlin Clark. Right now, Watkins has 1,709 points in 2 seasons. That is the second best first 2 seasons of a career scoring in women's college basketball history. The only other player that has the lead, has the record, is Kelsey Mitchell, who played 4 years at Ohio State. She's in the WNBA, and she has bested JuJu by 54 points. If JuJu was healthy, she makes it to Elite Eight or even a Final Four. She's probably passing that number, and it's the best freshman, sophomore scoring run we've ever seen in women's college basketball from a single player. Well, what does this mean for USC? I mean, you're talking about 31% of USC's points, 29% of their shots, 30% of their three-point shots, 30% of their three-point makes, 21% of their assists, and 27% of their blocks. She leads the team in scoring and assists. She's second in rebounds, leads the team in steals. An incredible basketball player who is scary. Scary. I think, honestly, where she's most impressive is her transition play. It just so happens she hurt her knee in a transition play. One thing about that I didn't like was the reaction from the fans. And I wonder if they just didn't see the replay because there was a lot of booing. People thought Mississippi State fouled her egregiously, was trying to hurt her. Looking back at the replay, it wasn't that at all. It honestly was just kind of a freak thing. I don't put that on Mississippi State at all. There was another play where, there was another player for USC that only 2 or 3 points per game, but was playing well. And a Bulldog goes up for a block, ends up fouling the player for USC, and she goes down and she's holding her head, was trying to sell a foul maybe, or maybe she was hurt a little bit. She had to go to the locker room. That was another play where the Bulldogs were just trying to make a play. It wasn't anything egregious, but the fans were really fired up. USC did a phenomenal job last night of picking up where they left off without JuJu Watkins on the floor. They still scored 96 points. That's a team that averages 81 a game. It's one of the best scoring teams in the nation. They still score 96. There's 2 reasons. I think one, just obviously this is a very talented team, still without JuJu. Despite what she does, shoots the majority of the shots, scores 30% of their points, they're still a very talented team. But another reason is because they were pretty pissed off. That was a team that was fired up, mad, sad, wanting to take it out on somebody because they just lost their star player. And I think at the time they were still thinking that the foul was a little bit rough and it was unnecessary. And we saw that in the handshake line when a couple of players for USC was ready to get in the face of some Bulldog players and duke it out or at least shout at each other and air some grievances. So you saw a really fired up USC team. And for example, Kiki Iriafen is, I think how you say her last name. She scored 36 points. She's the only other Trojan this season that averaged double figures. So talent-wise, size-wise, athleticism, do not get me wrong. And I want to make this very clear. Even without JuJu Watkins, this is a seriously good team that is still a pretty scary and tough matchup for K-State. This does give K-State, obviously, and it's still fresh. Nobody wanted to just go out there and say on social media, oh, man, she's out. Man, what is it? This is so good now for K-State. They have such a great advantage now. They should get out there and win and go on to the Elite Eight because they're missing their best player. She got hurt. What a great thing for K-State. Nobody's out there saying that. But you can't help but think, what does that mean now for K-State? We're K-State fans. We're the next team to play.
It is the reality of the
USC.
Situation at hand.
Absolutely. It is the reality. What does it mean for K-State? I think right now it's still going to be a really, really, really tough battle. First of all, just think of the ramifications here. The winner goes to the Elite Eight. There's a lot on the line. You think USC is going to pull punches or feel bad for themselves or be down because they just lost their best player? Absolutely not. This is going to be a very tough game still without JuJu Watkins.
And maybe we'll get into it more tomorrow or even Friday. But I think they provide some matchup problems for K-State. You look at Kiki Iriafen, who, by all intents and purposes, is probably their second best player behind JuJu. And man, I haven't watched a ton of USC basketball this year, but watching her work last night, especially, after the hit that they just took, for her to provide some energy in the spark, I think it's going to be tough for K-State to find someone who matches up well because of her height, but also because of her quickness. Yoki is a phenomenal paint defender, and don't get me wrong about that, but she's lacking a little bit with the lateral quickness with her feet. Eri Offen is fast. She's athletic. And I think she could provide some matchup problems for K-State. It's not going to be an easy game. You're gonna want to think that USC is going to come out even maybe a little bit more. I don't know if motivated is the right word, because at this point in the season you're motivated to win no matter what. But a little bit more emotionally charged, maybe trying to rally for one of their teammates, rally for one of their fallen soldiers, for quote unquote. So it should be interesting to see kind of how it plays out. It provides, just being frank, it's going to make it easier for K-State on the defensive end of the ball when you don't have, that's a generational player in JuJu Watkins. That's not a player that comes around too often. So it'll be interesting to see, what K-State does on the defensive end, how USC adjusts their offense, because they're going to have players eating up more shots with JuJu out. So it definitely makes things interesting to see how it'll progress as we move closer to Saturday.
K-State's a way better team than Mississippi State.
Oh my goodness, Mississippi State was horrible.
They were not good. They missed so many layups, giving the ball away. That also, that goes to, USC has size. They're a long team. They're like K-State. Across the starting lineup, you're going to see 6 foot and plus, like K-State. K-State will have the taller player with 6'6", 6'7" Aoka Lee as a traditional center. And USC, they're very, very much used to playing with JuJu Watkins. Again, averaging 34 minutes a game, and she is the nation's best player. Overall, she's the second best scorer at 24 points per game. They themselves, like K-State did twice now, just has to figure out how to play without their star player. K-State's been through it. Now USC is going to have to go through it as well.
And Coach Mitty talked about when Yoki went down, you don't just replace that. You don't replace an Aoka Lee. You don't replace a JuJu Watkins. So it's like you're saying, it's going to be trying to figure out how they're going to deal with life after Watkins, especially on this quick of a turnaround. Monday to Saturday, it's not like you have an off season to fix this. It's 5 days that you have to prepare how we're going to work this offense without the nation's not the best scorer in terms of points per game, but the nation's best scorer, probably the best player.
It's not easy to replace 24 points.
Not at all.
That's the biggest thing they have to figure out, is who's going to step up. It can't just be Kiki Eri Offen, who went off. She had a season high 36 points last night. After that, they got 18 off the bench from another player, but Kiki Eri Offen is the only player for USC that averages double figures. So they're going to have multiple players step up. Advantage K-State, they're going to have more scores than probably USC will. But USC is so good on defense. They were scary good on defense. And it goes to their length, goes to their discipline. And I think they were, like I said, very fired up after JuJu went down. But now this is a very interesting week, or a very interesting, 4 to 5 days of USC planning for this Elite Eight. Now, the way the bracket was also set up, the committee wanted a rematch between USC and UConn, which is actually two teams that played each other in last year's Elite Eight. They played each other earlier this year. UConn won last year in the Elite Eight. USC won earlier this year by 2 points against UConn. So they're looking to get that one more game and complete the trilogy, the rubber matchup between JuJu Watkins and Paige Beckers of UConn. Well, that's now not going to happen. Could they still play USC? Who knows right now? K-State all of a sudden kind of feels like now they kind of have to. I guess I didn't realize UConn was in K-State's region when the brackets came out. We were just worried about K-State got in. They're not hosting. Didn't realize who the two is. But first, obviously, you got to get by USC. But, the women's tournament has been better than the men's, in my opinion. For the second year in a row, it's been better. Would you ever have thought K-State's overtime win against Kentucky would be topped last night? It got topped last night. It was Maryland and Alabama that went to 2 overtimes. That was a crazy good game. Crazy. That's the game of the tournament. K-State and Kentucky's now the second best game of the tournament. So, yeah, this changes things pretty drastically for the scoring of USC. I don't expect them to miss a beat on the defensive end. JuJu is still very good on that end. She's long, but USC was very disciplined on that side of the floor. But now just kind of throws things up in the air. It's like, well, now how the hell is this game going to play out? Because there's no doubt USC was going to be a 7, 8, 9-point favorite. That's just a guess. Maybe I'm even shorting that a little bit if JuJu's playing. And now Vegas sees this as a pretty even game. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of feeling the same way.
Yeah, it feels like that JuJu Watkins is JuJu Watkins, and she by herself is an 8 to 9. I mean, that's a generational player that's going to make that kind of impact on the game, especially with someone who handles the ball basically 24/7 for USC. So it changes the game completely. It'll be what I'm maybe most excited to watch is K-State offense versus the USC defense, because I don't know if there's going to be necessarily an easy button like there has been against certain teams this year for K-State. I think they're going to have to be efficient on offense because USC has a ton of size and they have great anticipation in the passing lanes, the physicality that they play with. I think that was going to be interesting regardless of JuJu being there. That could be the story of the night.
Well, I guess we'll have to ask Kristin Waller, our guest coming on after the break, what is K-State going to have to do right? How are they going to get it done against USC? I mean, that's a lot of questions. Still a ways to go, too, and we don't play till Saturday. And it's the last game of the Sweet 16. K-State, USC, the 5 versus the 1 in Spokane, Washington, Regional 4. Tips off at 7 o'clock Central, pregame coverage at 6:30 on Saturday, also televised on ESPN. We speak with K-State women's basketball color analyst Kristin Waller after a timeout on the game.
This poor man is crying. Why? He missed the game. You know, you can always check out the game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and at newsradiokman.com.
You've asked for it, so we're making your dream a reality. You Stop, Phillips 66, the Friendship House, and your favorite radio station, News Radio KMAN, will be giving away an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas.
Picture it. Relaxing poolside, indulging in gourmet cuisine, soaking in the sun, and taking in the views, like the famous Land's End rock formations, the beautiful sandy beaches, and the energetic nightlife, all while creating memories that will last a lifetime. We're sending one lucky winner and a guest on an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas to stay in the Villa Valencia.
You'll fly out February 6, 2026 and come home on February 14th. You don't want to miss out on a chance to win this incredible opportunity. So be sure to listen each week and check the News Radio KMAN social media pages to learn how your dream vacation of relaxation, adventure, and luxury can become a reality.
Get your passport ready, pick out the perfect swimsuit, and get ready for a vacation of a lifetime at the Villa Valencia in Cabo San Lucas. Sponsored by You Stop, Phillips 66, the Friendship House, and News Radio KMAN.
Check out Vista Drive-In's specials for Lent this year. The butterfly shrimp combo is only $9 and the fish sandwich is only $8. Each combo includes fries and a drink. Back by demand is our grilled shrimp po' boy. Grilled shrimp on a hoagie roll with lettuce, tomato, and a spicy garlic sauce. Fish and shrimp at Vista this Lent season. We also have mozzarella sticks and a vegetarian salad as other non-meat options, or just have a shake or a cyclone. They make a great meal by themselves. Vista Drive-In on Tuttle Creek Boulevard, serving up Manhattan's favorite since 1964. Open at 7 a.m. daily.
Suicide is often a silent struggle, but no one has to face it alone. If you or someone you love is feeling hopeless, remember, there is help and there is hope. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Together, we can turn pain into healing and despair into strength. Help is always available. Visit Pawnee Mental Health's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1558 Hayes Drive or call our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Crispy, faded, lit, baked, toasty, stoned, blazed, zooted.
When you're high, there are a lot of ways to say it. But there's only one thing you need to remember. Driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal everywhere. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Kansas is well known for our changing weather. Sometimes it changes for the worst. Use
I'm Cole Dutchendorf with the Game Sports Update. On a day where K-State advanced to the NCAA Sweet 16 with a 1-point win over Kentucky, senior guard Serena Sundell set a new school mark when giving out 14 assists, setting a new record of over 800. Sundell's 14th assist of the game came on the three-pointer that was the difference in the Cats besting Kentucky. She found Tamira Poindexter for a three with just under a minute to play, and K-State survived 4 attempts at a game winner by Kentucky. JuJu Watkins was carried off the floor with a season-ending knee injury in the first quarter of top-seeded Southern California's game against Mississippi State in the NCAA tournament on Monday night. Watkins, one of the biggest stars in women's basketball, was streaking to the basket, chased by 2 defenders, when her knee bent awkwardly as she planted her right leg, the non-contact injury causing her to crumple to the floor. Later on, a team spokesperson said Watkins will undergo surgery and then begin rehabilitation. USC would rally in the absence of their star, led by post Kiki Iriafen, who scored a season-high 36 points and grabbed 9 boards, as the Trojans won 96-59 to reach the Sweet 16, where they'll meet K-State this weekend, with coverage beginning at 6:30 and tip-off at 7 on News Radio KMAN. Vinny Pasquantino's readiness for opening day is still unclear after he suffered a grade 1+ right hamstring strain on Saturday. Pre-game coverage of opening day between the Royals and the Guardians begin at 2:30 on News Radio KMAN.
I see that Avery Johnson's strawberry lemonade drink is now on sale. Strawberry lemonade, a thirst-quenching, low-calorie, low-sugar alternative to soft drinks. I just need one question answered. Is there any caffeine in this drink? I don't know if there is or not, but if there's not, I'll definitely try it. An electrifying, thirst-quenching, low-calorie, low-sugar drink. Pretty solid logo. I love Avery Johnson's logo. And on the can, it's purple. He's in the background behind the logo, strawberry lemonade with the autograph there on the front, and then all the contents on the other side of the can. It's a good-looking can. And Hy-Vee's selling them. It looks like it's 2 for $5. So head out to Hy-Vee, get some Avery Johnson soft drinks, strawberry lemonade. As long as it doesn't have caffeine, I'm going to try, and I'm going to get one of those here very soon. Well, we're pleased to be joined by a lady that has a lot of titles at K-State. You may know her as K-State women's basketball radio color analyst. Kristin Waller, also former K-State women's basketball player, joins us here on the show. Kristin, did you see the JuJu Watkins injury last night?
We did. We were watching, and that's just, man, that's tough. You don't wish that on anybody. You don't wish that on anybody. Just a tough play and for such a great player and for such an electric player, you don't wish that on anybody.
Does it feel like it's not just devastating for USC, but just kind of women's basketball as a whole because of how high profile she is?
Yeah, absolutely. The attention that she draws, and what she's been able to do for the game in such a short amount of time, and just the type of player that she is, both, just obviously a tremendous player, and the records that she is busting up at USC, and just, the eyeballs that are on her, that means that they're on the women's game as well. And so it absolutely changes the dynamic of the tournament a little bit.
When you play, did you play against any high profile names that went on to do big things?
Man. Now you're testing memory here. For us, Texas was kind of the ones that we were chasing. Baylor kind of late in the game. OU, you think about like the Stacey Dales, right? Like we would have crossed paths in terms of competing against each other as well. Deb Patterson was my coach when we were here, and it was just I was a senior on the team that had those names, right? So the Kendra Wecker, the Nicole Oldie, Lori Kane, Megan Mahoney, who had a long tenured professional career. So we kind of had to take on some of those maybe more athletic teams per se. We had to find ways to scout and just kind of stay focused and stay kind of sticking to the game plan, I guess, in order to be able to beat those teams. So.
Well, ever since your playing days, for the most part, you've been along with K-State for sure, at least for this ride that we currently have with the women's basketball program. And what a ride it's been, and it still continues with the Sweet 16 coming up on Saturday. But you were there in Lexington with Brian Smoller calling the action, and it was all heard right here on KMAN. And I put out there on our website, the final call, the final moments of that game. Uh-huh. And I thought after Brian just went off with "It's over, it's over, it's over," you come in and say, "What a game!" And I think that honestly, it was a great description, honestly, of what that game was because the tone of your voice. You were there. I mean, what did you take away from that experience and watching that game unfold and K-State getting that overtime win?
Yeah, I'll stand by the statement, I guess, of what a game to be a part of and to be able to call. We got asked after the Fairfield game, like, in a 40-point blowout, do you run out of things to say? And it's like, well, sometimes, yeah, you kind of have to you have to be purposeful in staying engaged in some of those games. But the back and forth nature of Kentucky, it was a great environment. First of all, you're going to play against a player like Georgia Amore, and Clara Strack is tremendous, and they've got some young talent. Also, that will be back, and so. Kind of down the stretch, the play started on the same sideline that we were on. And so specifically as it relates to that play, the only thing that I remember seeing, because we couldn't really see the develop and how she inbounded it to Strack, right, and was really a give and go and just a fast cut to the basket, it was like the next thing you see is, holy crap, Amore is open along the baseline. And really, this is how we're really going to end this and go home. But, we had some misses early on that had kind of rimmed off, and so I guess it was their turn, and Kentucky absolutely got what they want in terms of having their All-American down there on the baseline to be able to take the last shot. It's really all you can ask for in that regard, but just so proud of the way that this team dug deep, and they did not shoot the basketball well in the first half, particularly from the arc, right? And so we've kind of seen some of those games where it's like, oh man, this could go really bad if we don't start hitting some shots pretty soon. But they just stuck with it and stayed true. And that's something that this team has always been really good at, it seems like, is just being in the moment and playing the next possession and trying to win the next possession. And it was a back and forth. And there were a couple times where it's like you get down 5 and it's like, oh, crap. And then Poindexter, huge threes, obviously, all afternoon long. And then Glenn hits a couple of big threes as well. And so, yeah, and they made plays too, right? Like, he hit some big shots, and she spent most of the time on the bench in foul trouble in the first half. And so just to be able to have the back and forth nature it's March Madness at its finest, man. And it was so fun to be a part of it. And I think the call was more of just of shock, maybe a little bit of it really happened. Like, that shot did not go in, and we are getting out of here with a win, and holy crap, what a game. Where's the Tylenol?
Well, I'm still, you brought up Lee, I'm still like low key, still pretty upset about some of the whistles she was not getting. You probably had a really good angle of her last shot in the final minute of overtime. Do you think she was fouled?
I mean, she was sandwiched really, really well. There a lot of contact up high with where the arms and where the shot went up, I think. So yeah, I mean, you take that for what it's worth. But I think, too, if I'm looking back on it, I think, yes, the physical play sometimes does not necessarily work in K-State's favor, right? Like we have seen where the physical play not being called has not been kind to K-State. But I think on one hand, you would rather have it that way. The officials did a good job down the stretch. They didn't call anything on the other. I mean, we come back to a group text and it's like, whatever the count was, four shots in 17 seconds or whatever the heck it was, right? And there were no whistles to that. And so the officials, to that credit, let the players decide, which is how it should be. So,
you know what? A question just popped in my head, and I've never asked a former player this question. We have our assumptions, right? But I want to get the answer from a former player, especially since you played with Wecker and Oldie. Is Aoka Lee the GOAT of K-State women's basketball?
Oh, goodness. I think you can have so many multiple talents, right? On one hand, I'm going to be biased, right? Because I played with Wecker, I played with Oldie. And I also think they're three different players completely. You know, I mean, Yoki is the true, like, back to the basket muscle, get you buried deep in the paint, turn and score over you. I mean, she's stretched it. She's worked to stretch her game a little bit too, right? Great free throw shooter. Not necessarily probably going to take the mid-range jump shot, though, and extend the defense in that way. And Wecker had such a beautiful mid-range game, shot the three, so explosive in getting to the rim. And Oldie just, I think the thing I remember about her, just so smooth in terms of footwork and the pivots and the up and under and just finding ways to kind of get her slight frame compared to who she was playing against to be able to find ways to score. I just think we're pretty lucky, and I think K-State fans are pretty lucky to have seen these women come through the program, and we are lucky as players to have had the crowds and the fan support that we have had also. So I just, great talent, and it's exciting, and it's fun to see it be paid off and being able to keep playing this time of year.
So you were, I believe, a senior, right? The last time K-State went to a Sweet 16?
Correct. Yep.
I'd love to get your memories of that, but also, I mean, just as a former player and being in the NCAA tournament, is it more nerve-wracking watching the game unfold or playing in the game as it unfolds?
Oh, yeah. So kind of the first part, I mean, we hosted, when I was a senior, we played the first two rounds here in Manhattan, and I can remember we played Arkansas that second game, and the lights went out. And so the joke afterwards was, because Lori Kane had a great game, that it was like, well, you knew it was only a matter of time before she shot the lights out. And so she has literally done that. But, just to be able, I think that memory, to be able to cut down the nets in Bramlage, like as a senior, and to be able to go out with your last game being a win, and again, being a part and being in March and playing in March, I think that is what I will always take and always remember. And now, before the game, we always kind of get texts and people are asking, like, how you feeling? What are you think we're going to win? how you think we're going to do? And it's, this season I have been kind of consistently like, just not unsure, but just like, all right, like this, we have a chance to be and play and compete with anybody if that team that shows up against Kentucky plays and shows up. And so I think that is just the really exciting part, and that's why you play the game, right? And so before the Kentucky game, I have the toe tap and the jittery leg, like I'm ready to go and play, and then afterwards I always feel like I have played in the game. But at this point, I don't know that nobody needs that right now.
Kristin Waller is our guest. Just a couple more for you, and I'll let you go. I want to ask about Serena Sundell, because she just continues to have a phenomenal career, and she's having a great tournament. Do you think her jersey is going to go up in the rafters of Bramlage Coliseum?
I mean, I think there's definitely an argument for it, given the company and kind of some of the records that she's chasing and has now busted. I mean, she's career leader in assists, and I think just the magnitude of like the scoring. She's sixth right now, just past Kane. I think the assists, and then even the shot blocking and the defense and the defending ability. I think she has just such a well-rounded player, and I think in these two NCAA tournament games, I think we've really seen kind of a different toughness from her. It seems like, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch when it's kind of like, all right, here we go, stop me, and I love that mindset, and I love seeing kind of that mentality come out of this group.
So last thing is that they're still a few days before you guys are gonna fly out to Spokane. Going to play on Saturday against USC without JuJu Watkins, but really, I mean, maybe just kind of focusing on K-State, what they need to do. First of all, just what is this week like for K-State, and then what do they just need to do right to get to the Elite Eight and beat USC?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm not in the day-to-day in terms of what their schedules might look like, but I would assume, a little bit lighter. You'll have a couple a little bit lighter days, maybe a couple of little heavy days. Definitely looking at scouts. I would imagine that, film and things will may have to be edited or flipped around a little bit now with JuJu not being in the game and what that does for USC. But again, I kind of said it earlier. I think this team has always been good about what they need to do and what they need to bring, and that. They've got to be consistent from a scoring perspective. They've got to be able to knock down threes. Poindexter, hopefully she can pick up right where she left off. Hopefully Glenn can kind of get going a little bit. You need sides to come in and hit some buckets also, right? Like you've got to hit some threes to be able to loosen up the inside for Lee a little bit to be able to work. And then just bring that active and focused defense, I think, and stay true to scout and with whatever they're kind of tasked with from that regard. And we're not quite sure why we're going, right? Like everybody's already got USC and UConn pinned into the Final Four. So why not go out there and just blow it all up and keep playing for as long as you can? And hopefully that helps them play a little bit loose, play a little bit free, play a little bit with a chip on your shoulder, and just keep playing for as long as they can.
I think that's well said, and I think that's a great way to end it. Really appreciate your time, Kristin. Love you on the call with Smoller, and we'll see you in Spokane this weekend. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep, thanks so much. Love listening to you guys. Love listening to the game on the way home.
Thank you so much. That is Kristin Waller. I love those little compliments there. K-State women's basketball color analyst. She's also a senior associate athletics director for the Evans Student Athlete Success Program and a deputy Title IX coordinator. It's Tuesday. We got to wrap up the first hour. How about a Jabroni of the week after these words?
Your home for K-State sports.
Thompson at the goal line. He's in again. Fourth rushing touchdown of the game for Skylar Thompson.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Transit is more than just getting from point A to point B. It's about connecting community. It's about providing a lifeline for those who need it most. It's about making a difference every day. At Flint Hills Adabus, we're hiring bus operators to help us provide safe, reliable, and friendly transit services across Manhattan, Junction City, Fort Riley, and beyond. With great pay, benefits, and overtime opportunities, your journey starts here. Transit is a career that matters. Apply today at Adabus.
At ESB Financial, we think it makes sense to pay you. That's right, get paid 5.04% annual percentage yield on balances up to $20,000 with our free Kasasa Cash checking account. We'll even refund your ATM fees nationwide, and the best part is there's no monthly service charges or minimum balances to keep. All you have to do to earn your rewards are a few simple things each month. The best part? These things make banking easier. Visit esbfinancial.com to learn more. Special terms may apply. ESB Financial, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show comes to your radio every Friday morning at 10 a.m. We will discuss timely gardening and landscape topics to help you keep your lawn and garden in tip-top shape. Blueville Nursery has been your local landscape service and garden store for over 50 years, and we want to share our time-tested techniques with you. From vegetable gardening, spring and summer annuals to shade trees and lawn care, we'll cover it all. You're welcome to call into the show to ask questions that apply to your own landscape or garden. Stay tuned to Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Radio KMAN.
Join the original influencers, influencing for over 60 years, and discover how you can turn your passion for media and sales into a rewarding career. Manhattan Broadcasting is looking for creative, hardworking individuals who have a passion for helping businesses grow through traditional and digital marketing platforms. Qualified candidates should be creative, great at building relationships, and most of all, success-driven. Apply now at the top-rated media company, Manhattan Broadcasting. Send your resume to jobs@manhattanbroadcasting.com. Our client success is your success.
Your exclusive home for K-State baseball. News Radio KMAN.
High fly ball, left center field. Get out of here! D. Kennedy punishes that pitch just beyond the scoreboard in deep left center.
The Cats step out of conference play Tuesday night to match up with Nebraska at Toynton Family Stadium. Coverage gets underway at 5:30 on News Radio KMAN.
The Cats play here. News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast right now, 73 degrees out, partly cloudy skies. Those partly cloudy skies sticking around for the overnight forecast with a low around 42. And a north wind around 5 miles per hour becoming calm after midnight. Tomorrow mostly sunny and a high near 73. Tomorrow night mostly clear, a low around 52. Wind picking up a little bit, gusting as high as 20 miles an hour. Thursday mostly sunny, a high near 84.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! You jabronis hit the jackpot!
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan!
Al? Is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the Week.
Well, here we go. 3 honorable mentions. I'll culminate with my Jabroni of the Week. Our first honorable mention is going to go once again to, I got to give it to West Virginia. The luck just got a little bit worse, and it's really adding up. Not getting into the NCAA tournament. The governor's like, we're going to investigate you. We're coming after you, something like that. And then on top of that, Darren DeVries, their head coach, leaves after not getting in as he heads to Indiana. And so now when Baker is trying to find a new head coach, well, their guy that they really wanted, Ben McCollum, he's like, all right, Morgantown, Iowa City. Well, I already live pretty close to Iowa City. Let's just call it a day, and let's get that paper. Let's get that bread, and I'm going to go coach for the Hawkeyes. And so now West Virginia's like, all right, well, we got a guy that was connected to Bob Huggins, Gerard Calhoun, but he's connected to Bob Huggins, so Calhoun's going to get an extension at Utah State, and now they're going after some jabronis that nobody else wants. So it just kind of goes from bad to worse for West Virginia. Second dishonorable mention, PGA golfer Patton Kizzire. I should have checked in with our PGA correspondent Paul Parker on that pronunciation. He's been golfing PGA Tour style since 2016. He's got a handful of wins. He's made like $13 million. Good money on that circuit. However, his 2025 season not off to a good start. He is not qualified. He's not made the cut, rather, in all the tournaments he played in so far. Well, this past weekend, he's in another tournament. First day, he's on the 5th hole of the day, and he has a 3-foot putt. He's going to par, putts, blast it past the hole. It was the worst, probably the worst 3-foot putt I may have ever seen. He's so frustrated. He takes his putter and punts it. And what the hell the rod or whatever, of the putter, whatever you want to call it, bends it, ruins his putter. So he has to use the wedge for another couple of holes. But he's so frustrated, he rage quits. He says he has a bad back. He rage quit the first round of a tournament. So he says, I'm done. I'm going to press the start button, go up to quit, and back to the main menu, and live to play another day.
Golf can be frustrating.
But typically golfers keep their cool.
That is one of the prerequisites to be one of those players. But obviously, I mean, if he's gotten it done at that level.
My last honorable mention is going to go to wrestler Gable Steveson for, they're calling it the biggest upset in a national championship match in college wrestling history when Oklahoma State's Wyatt Hendrickson, who's from Newton, Kansas, he transferred in from do you know him?
That's my hometown. So I'll shout out Newton.
I'm just wondering.
I have no idea who he is.
Never hung out with him or anything?
No.
Well, he's a heavyweight wrestler. He transferred in from Air Force, and he's down 4-2 with like 20 seconds to go. He gets a 3-point takedown, and he wins 5-4 to end the undefeated run of an Olympic gold medalist, a WWE wannabe that just didn't work out timing-wise. And by the way, also tried out for the Buffalo Bills and was still allowed to go back to college and loses the national championship matchup. But my Jabroni of the Week takes us again back to the high school ranks.
Gotta love it.
And you probably saw this one coming if you saw the video. Northville High School head girls basketball coach Jim Zullo, who had been coaching for years, over 500 wins. I believe he's in his 80s. I heard he's in his 80s, but I'm not quite sure. Never got that confirmed. Won multiple state championships, 12 league titles, lost a playoff game, and one of his players, very emotional, tugs on her ponytail.
Yeah.
And apparently the reason is because she said a cuss word to him or around him. Well, he didn't like that. That's not going to fly. Yanks on her ponytail. And at that point, she's got a couple of teammates backing her away from this coach. And at that point, you have ruined your career. Your privilege of being a head coach for anything has gone up in flames. He was fired before the bus returned back to school. Jim Zullo.
Can't do that.
Jim Zullo is my Jabroni of the Week.
Gotta be smarter. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
That's going to wrap it up for hour number one. Reminder, K-State baseball coming up at 5:30. First pitch at 6:05 against Nebraska, rather. Short hour to the game is coming up next. News Radio KMAN.
You've asked for it, so we're making your dream a reality. You Stop, Phillips 66, The Friendship House, and your favorite radio station, News Radio KMAN, will be giving away an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas.
Picture it. Relaxing poolside, indulging in gourmet cuisine, soaking in the sun, and taking in the views, like the famous Land's End rock formations, the beautiful sandy beaches, and the energetic nightlife, all while creating memories that will last a lifetime. We're sending one lucky winner and a guest on an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas to stay in the Villa Valencia.
You'll fly out February 6, 2026 and come home on February 14th. You don't want to miss out on a chance to win this incredible opportunity. So be sure to listen each week and check the News Radio KMAN social media pages to learn how your dream vacation of relaxation, adventure, and luxury can become a reality.
Get your passport ready, pick out the perfect swimsuit, and get ready for a vacation of a lifetime at the Villa Valencia in Cabo San Lucas. Sponsored by Stop, Phillips 66, The Friendship House, and News Radio KMAN.
The secret to getting ahead is getting started. The words of Mark Twain. If you know what it's like to be behind and you're looking to get ahead for a change, it's Central Time. Open a new opportunity checking account with Central National Bank that makes finances easy. Account opening is subject to qualifications. Restrictions may apply.
Central National Bank. Money for life.
Member FDIC. Money for getting started since 1884.
Are you tired of that outdated kitchen? Is your basement more dungeon than hangout, or do you need a complete new home build? Well, no matter what you're looking for, Greg Watt Construction has been making home dreams come true for over 30 years. Greg Watt Construction is the licensed, experienced professional builder that will give you the quality craftsmanship that you can trust. Don't believe me? Go online and look at his reviews. Give Greg Watt Construction a call at 785-313-3819 and build something amazing together.
KS State Bank wants to be your bank. Find the solutions you've been looking for at ksstate.bank. KS State Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. KMAN, Manhattan.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast. Right now, 75 degrees and that wind picking up a little bit, gusting as high as 17 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low around 42. That wind should calm down after midnight. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high near 73. Tomorrow night, mostly clear skies, a low around 52. Wind picking back up with gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. Thursday, a 20% chance of showers. Other than that, mostly sunny and a high near 84.
The game continues, a short hour two, the game after work. Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf, he is first cousins once removed with John Denver. I'm actually not going to be at Toyton Family Stadium tonight. I'll be at Manhattan High's basketball banquet, and I will be telling everybody you are related to John Denver, just in case they don't know.
And then they can get the name fixed for next year's thing.
You have a tough last name to spell,
and I can't really fault. I wouldn't be able to spell it if I didn't have it. So it's
well, I mean, how many times I've known you for 3 years now, and how many times have I asked you how to spell it?
I spelled it a time or two.
We're with you again until 5:30. That's when pregame coverage of K-State baseball starts. Wyatt Thompson on the call against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. First pitch, 6:05, Toyton Family Stadium. All right, everybody ready to feel a little bit old right now?
Does this apply for me too?
We'll see. 15 years ago today. 15 years ago today. K-State, Xavier, 2 overtimes, Sweet 16, NCAA tournament.
I did see that on X today. I don't really have any recollection of it, so I guess that does make me feel old, kind of.
I did not watch the game live. I did not actually watch that game all the way through until about 2 years ago. Just because I'd never seen it, I know it was on YouTube. I've seen the highlights out the wazoo. He's in shape, all that stuff, the quotes from Gus Johnson. Phenomenal game. And if K-State doesn't get overtime, do they get past Butler and make it to the Final Four? It's, again, one of those what ifs that we still continue to live with because we're K-State fans. And our lives are full of what ifs over the years, over the last 3 decades.
You know, it's a couple of anniversaries because I think Sunday was the Michigan State game anniversary.
Was it?
And it kind of got me thinking because we saw a classic game on Sunday as well with the women this time. Which game was better? Is it the Michigan State game from 2 years ago or is it the Kentucky game? I think I've gone back and forth with this in my head multiple times. I think you really can't go wrong either way, but those are two really good games.
The majority of, to use a Robert Lipson word, clones, the majority of the clones, the K-State fans, would obviously say the men's game. I was there for the men's game. I was not there in Lexington. Man, do we have time to break this down?
I say we do it.
There's so many elements to this. Because I don't think it's just a clear-cut yes. I mean, they're both overtime games. Both K-State teams needed a defensive stop. 2 pretty highlight plays to take the lead.
2 extremely impressive individual performances with Marquise and Tamira.
Well, and I would say
throw in Serena and Keontae.
Because I remember also Ish hit 4 threes in that game.
He also had the shot at the end with 10 seconds left to put it up 3.
Yep, and it was the Keys to Key. The third alley-oop of the season that gave K-State the 2-point lead. Because I think it was 2-point lead. Michigan State got a free throw. We go back the other way. 2-pointer from Ish from the baseline. Cats Noel gets a steal, puts it up, and the Cats win by 5. For the women's game, that was also another highlight play. It wasn't an alley-oop, of course, but Tamira hits her 8th 3 of the game to give K-State a 1-point lead. And K-State had to survive 4 Kentucky shots.
The end was because with Kentucky they got the shot off, and then in the Michigan State game it was the marquee steal, and then the finish at the other end, which was the exclamation point. I think they're also different because Kentucky had the lead late in the game on Sunday, whereas a couple years ago, I believe it was K-State who led for a majority of that game. There was a couple of Michigan State comebacks, one early in the second half and then one later down the line. I think K-State was up 4 with a minute left-ish, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think one thing that the women's win has over the men's is that with the lead changes, it was bang, 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 just back and forth. K-State and Michigan State were able to build 4 or 5 point advantages, and here comes the other team, and then there comes the other team. It just wasn't bang, bang,
it wasn't
bang like
21
the women.
lead changes
no,
or whatever it was.
There was still quite a few. I still remember there's probably quite a few. I don't know what I even guess. 15, maybe. And that was also 2 big assist games because Marquise set the NCAA tournament record with 19. I think it was 19. And then Serena had 14 against Kentucky. And she tied the game to send it to overtime. So Michigan State tied the game to send the men's game to overtime. This is actually, as we talk it out, it's really tough. Now, going back to why I feel the majority would pick the men's game is just because it's the men's team. A couple of other reasons. Madison Square Garden. And also, it's one step further in the NCAA tournament. The women's game was in the round of 32. The men's game was a Sweet 16 game. Now, I'm extremely good about not being biased one way or the other. I love K-State men's basketball and women's basketball equally.
I really don't think you can go wrong either way.
Two
phenomenal games in their own rights.
I mean, Marquise Noel is my favorite K-State men's basketball player ever. Like, he officially passed Jacob Pullen, and also I just like not being with the masses and having my own favorite player because most will go Pullen or Magruder or whatever. Maybe not so much Marquise Noel. I think Marquise's jersey should be in the rafters along with Michael Beasley. I might have to slightly give the men's game the nod just because it's only for personal reasons. It was because I was there. Look, both games had me pacing wherever I was, the rafters of the Garden or my girlfriend's living room in Wamego. Didn't matter. I was pacing. I was nervous. Both games were overtime. Both games took minutes, maybe even hours off of my life.
I think I would also lean the men's game also not because of one game or another, but because of where I was watching it. I was watching the men's game with like 30 of my buddies at K-State. So the vibes in the room immediately following the win were just immaculate, whereas I was just posted up in a nervous wreck against Kentucky with my wife on Sunday, just kind of both just in a shock the entire game.
I hate to pick one or the other. I just have to slightly, and it's so minimal of a margin, but I'm going to go the men's game just slightly. Really only because the tiebreaker was I was there for that. I was not in person. I mean, also put it this way. It was a true road game for K-State women. It was a neutral site.
One was to the Sweet 16. One was to the Elite 8.
But it was a homecoming for Keese and Ish.
Naquan. I don't think you can go wrong either way. How privileged are we that in the last couple of years we have those two phenomenal games that we can say we can debate which one we enjoyed more. That's a pretty good spot to be in.
I don't know if enjoy is the word. I enjoy the games in the NCAA tournament maybe more when K-State's not playing. There's just so much on the line, and we freak out and get nervous. We're more nervous than the team is. I'll go with the men.
We need to get some interaction from the people listening. We need them to hit the lines and see
put it up there at the game KMAN.
I'm working on it.
I know the people are going to pick the men's game.
Maybe some more reasons too behind it, like why they prefer one or the other.
I would for sure bet there are way more eyeballs on that men's game than the women's game. The men's NCAA tournament going on at the same time. So yeah, I'm slightly going with the men. Of course, the big storyline as we talked to you live last night, if you stayed up to scout USC, JuJu Watkins, her season is done. An extremely unfortunate knee injury last night. Lindsey Gottlieb, I thought, did a phenomenal job after the game of saying the right thing, saying this is about the team. She admitted that they were pretty deflated afterwards because this is their star player going down. They still have quite a bit of leadership that doesn't include JuJu Watkins, but you're talking about the best player currently in women's college basketball that K-State was set to face, and now they are not going to face JuJu Watkins. They're still going to face a very good USC team that has won 30 games. Their record this year is 30-3. And they won the Big Ten. They won by one game against the rival UCLA, who is also, they're the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament. And then it was pretty much a runaway from there. Nobody else was within 4 games of USC. It does affect women's college basketball greatly because you're talking about, I think she is the face now of women's college basketball. I can't go Paige Beckers because it is her last year. She's definitely a superstar. She's a WNBA draft pick. I think JuJu Watkins is for sure a future number one overall draft pick, and she'll be a draft pick once she graduates her senior year. But I think she's just the best player. According to the seeding, USC is not the best team in the tournament. They're still pretty damn good without her. They put on a statement, and I think they were pretty mad after JuJu went down. I think they thought that was a bit of an egregious foul. It was still whistled for a foul. I'm not sure there really was a foul. I have to go back and look exactly about how much contact, but if I remember correctly, there really wasn't hardly any contact. There was just a defender trying to make a defensive play and get in her way and try to cut her off. The timing was good timing to get in a defensive position to make a play. And USC took that obviously very personally. There was another play where a player went down for USC, and the fans lost it again. They started booing. Mississippi State got booed during the JuJu Watkins foul as well. Nothing really egregious. It was just kind of a freak thing for JuJu, who was already dealing with a couple of injuries that she suffered in the previous game in the first round. It's an extremely unfortunate thing for USC. If you saw the outcry, the emotions poured out by just the fans of women's college basketball, for JuJu Watkins, you pretty much understand how big of a deal she is if you don't necessarily follow women's college basketball or JuJu Watkins, or you've probably heard the name. Maybe you just hadn't seen her play basketball yet. She's obviously a very big deal. Things changed, though, now for K-State and USC on Saturday. It's a bit of a different game. I will still stand by, without JuJu Watkins, this is still a pretty difficult game for K-State. Does it even the playing field a little bit? Absolutely. Because JuJu is the second best scorer in college basketball when it comes to a point average. But for USC, that's a lot of points to replace. And you're talking about 24 points per game. This is a team that scores 81 a game. So you take away your points, you're looking at less than 60 a game. So clearly, players have to step up. Kiki, and I forget how to say her last name. I looked it up earlier, but she's poured in 36 last night. That is a veteran for USC. That's going to be a problem for K-State. That's a matchup problem. She's like 6'3". She's not a 5. USC has another 5. But who do you put on her that can guard her? That's going to be a really tough matchup. She'll stretch the floor. This is a team that likes to get to the hoop. K-State's going to have to play some pretty solid defense. USC's defense is really good. Can just USC have enough players step up to replace the scoring of JuJu Watkins? That, to me, is the biggest storyline. I think defensively they're going to be fine. They're going to force K-State into some turnovers and some tough plays. K-State's going to have to prove it on the offensive end. Defensively, K-State, Zy Walker will not be yet adding JuJu Watkins to her resume of some of the best players in the country that she's had to defend. And, of course, the top of that list is Caitlin Clark last year, twice, defending Caitlin Clark, and did a phenomenal job. Her, along with Jalen Glenn, did a phenomenal job last year in Iowa City. Vegas has USC still as a 1.5-point favorite. That'd be obviously very different if JuJu Watkins was going to play. Now that she's not playing, and look, it's the reality. K-State has a much better shot now of making it to an Elite Eight and most likely playing UConn in the Elite Eight without JuJu Watkins in the lineup.
No, it definitely changes a lot of the dynamics of the game, and like you said, it's going to be a matter of how do you replace those shots, those points. The usage rate is through the roof for JuJu. That she just has the ball in her hands constantly, so it becomes kind of replacing JuJu by committee, because you're not going to have one player just step in and replicate what she's been able to do this season. So you're going to have a couple of players fill up the stat sheet in terms of the shots that are now going to be missing. The ball handling, everything that she entails, the gravity that she pulls towards her. That's another thing that we haven't even mentioned yet, is how much attention she demands, because it's tough to leave someone like JuJu just on an island, even with a defender as good as Zy Walker, or some of the perimeter defenders that K-State has. It's tough to leave a player of that status on an island the entire game, and maybe they would have just let JuJu get her buckets and try to limit what everyone else could do. Maybe that would have been the game plan, but assuming it wasn't, the gravity that she demands and the attention that she demands, that's tough to replace too, if not impossible, because the shots that she's able to generate for her teammates, that's a huge part of this as well, and it'll be interesting to see how they try to attack. It's going to be a completely different offense without JuJu in there.
K-State's going to have a press conference tomorrow, and I wonder now to prep for USC without JuJu Watkins, are they now having to take more time to search for the film of considerable minutes without JuJu on the floor? Because she was averaging 34 minutes a game. This is also one of the best teams in the country that, by scoring margin, winning games by big margins. They had a lot of double-digit wins this year. So most likely, the minutes of the 40 that JuJu did not account for, which is 6 per game, I'm sure a lot of those instances is because the game was over. She's on the floor all the time. She rarely leaves the floor. So there's two things there. K-State's going to have to find some evidence of the good things that USC does. And this Mississippi State game is the best example you're going to find of the last 2 years, probably, of USC playing tough basketball without JuJu on the floor. There's probably a lot you can learn from that. And the Kiki gal is public enemy number one, because she's the only other player for USC that scores in double figures. Everybody else is under 10 points per game. So it's that. There's a number of other things as well. You're now prepping for a team without their star basketball player. Teams have done that with K-State for weeks now, 2 months, prepping for without Ayoka Lee. And some teams did an extremely good job. Some teams did not do a good job. Most of that time it was K-State in their home gym, but Ayoka Lee is back. It's rare that K-State's going to play a game where a superstar is missing and that player does not play for K-State. K-State's going to have 3 All-Americans out there. USC is not going to have who is most likely going to be the Naismith Player of the Year. All right. Final break. We'll wrap it up as we got baseball coming up at 5:30. Ask us anything after these words.
Our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News, weekdays at 6.
I'm Troy Coverdale, and along with Brandon Peoples, we'll have your morning's top headlines, the latest from CBS News at the top and bottom of each hour, your local notes from the KMAN and Manhattan Mercury newsroom, the sports scene, as well as K-State takes on Nebraska Tuesday night, the recap coming up Wednesday morning, and a beautiful forecast for the next few days. We'll get you caught up with all of it on Wednesday.
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I got a question if you don't have one queued up.
Go ahead.
It's one I asked Troy last week. It was the Wednesday one, and it was what was his favorite March Madness memory outside of a K-State one. He had a layup because he's called a March Madness game before. So I'll pass that same question on to you. Your favorite non-K-State March Madness memory. And I'll give you some time to think.
Ali Farokhmanesh.
Okay.
A three. Good! You can't be serious with that shot.
That is an all-timer. That is an all-timer for
Northern Iowa
Iowa.
against. Yeah, that was
on the right wing.
Well, that was right before K-State, because that was in Oklahoma City. That was right before K-State played BYU in the second round. And they were
Jimmer.
They're in the same place. That was the same gym. David G., who used to work here at the radio station, was former host of this show, told the story of, like, they had everybody, like, if you weren't here to watch that game, everybody had to wait in the concourse while the KU Northern Iowa game was going on. I'm like, how the hell does that work? Should it be just one session? Like, you got one ticket for two games? Shouldn't that be how it works? I don't know. 15 years ago. 15 years ago.
Yes.
Same NCAA tournament as the OT game against Xavier.
This is what I said last week too. So if you listened last week, then I apologize. It was the FDU game. I just think that them taking down Purdue, that was electric. That's one of the all-time March Madness moments, and it's one of my personal favorites just because it was a bunch of this little dudes going up against Zach Edey and the Boilermakers.
Well, if you've been watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button so we can afford those new Avery Johnson strawberry lemonade soft drinks. I'd like to go buy, at least a 12-pack. I think they just come in singles. I don't know. Whatever my arms or a basket can hold is what I'm looking to buy. They're 2 for $5 at Hy-Vee. For Cole, I'm Mitch. K-State Baseball next on KMAN.